and welcome to a traveling club stream. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. We will travel Israel, we will see the truth. And when they say we are lying, we will show the proof. Ya habibi. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. So y'all come with me for another stream. Become a clap. Join my Patreon. Become a clap. Join my Patreon. And don't forget my Discord because it's very fun. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. Humus shawarma jahnun burekas. Umani ohevochem shalom aleichem. But come hang out with me and I take you by the hand. This is the Traveling Clan live stream. Shalom and welcome to a traveling club stream. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. It's a travel Israel, we will see the truth. And when they say we are lying, we will show the proof. Ya habibi, become a clap. Join my Patreon, become a clap. Join my Patreon. And don't forget my Discord because it's very fun. This is the Traveling Clan live stream. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah. Na 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 na. Yeah 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 yeah.
Your sweet Zionist prince, white colonizer, coming to you live from an undisclosed location. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It's been a while since I've done a live stream, and I'm so excited to be here with everybody who's tuning in. Welcome everybody to the show. First thing off the bat, I think it's time to do a little celebration. We've never got a chance to do this on live because it happened when I just entered a zone of craziness. So can I get some clap emojis in the chat for 300,000? We're at 320,000 now. 300,000 subscribers on YouTube. Kra! Bra! That's crazy. I didn't think I was going to hit it. Truly did not think I was going to hit it. So thank you all so much for helping me hit this milestone, which is incredible. Appreciate all of you guys who are new to the channel. I do want to start off by saying, before we get into anything, before we do this whole debate of Zionist situation, I can't do any of this without your support. A lot of my content gets demonetized, so if you want to help out, joining my Patreon is the best way to help. For just $5 a month, you get exclusive content every Monday and a private chat on Discord with me. And for $10 a month, you get a bonus live stream after every single stream here on YouTube. You can also show some love through Buy Me a Coffee, PayPal, right here on this stream, or visit the brand spanking new, even though it's not that new. It's been out for like 6 months now, so I don't know why I keep saying new. TheTravelingClad.com. We got products and merch. These white colonizer hats have been hot sellers off the pancake market. You guys are buying these like hotcakes. Some of these designs are limited edition and they will go away. But I highly suggest you come. You can get your Clat Coin sweater, white colonizer sweater, if you like the show, Lil Judean with Herzl wearing an Amazi costume, white colonizer mug, white colonizer shirts, Queen of Shabbat. We got Abu Baklawa stickers. We got King David stickers. We got everything you could want. You got Zionist merch. You got Traveling Clat merch. Check out thetravelingclat.com. do yourself a favor, ladies and gentlemen, and buy some merchandise to support the channel. It goes a very, very long way to help me do what I do. For those of you guys who are new here, you can join my Discord for absolutely free. Hit the link in the description or in the chat right now and join the stage room, raise your hand. And on the show tonight, we're basically going to be doing open debates and conversations about Israel. If you want to debate about Palestine, if you want to talk about it, if you want to make me have to rationalize and defend my position, you are more than welcome to come up on stage and get her done, as they say. Get her done. So it's time to debate a Zionist. I'm opening up the call rooms for you guys right now to call in if anybody is interested in actually coming in to talk to me, to speak about this stuff. I'll tag everyone in the server. Call in. We try to do this as organized as we can and as humane as possible, even though sometimes it does descend into chaos. But I want to say one more time a huge thanks to everybody who's supporting the channel, to all the members, the patrons, the PayPalers, and the coffee buyers. I see you guys all, and I appreciate you so much. Now, let's jump into the conversation. Also, please let me know in the chat, guys, where you are watching from. If you're watching from somewhere specific, let me know. If you're not watching from anywhere specific, don't let me know. And I'm going to invite people up on stage right now to speak their minds. If they've got something they want to say, if they got something they want to debate, y'all are all welcome up onto the stage to talk to Dr. Tall. Maybe I can diagnose you. Maybe I can't. Who knows? Everyone's getting invited up on stage, and let's open up the calls for you beautiful human beings. Should I do this screen? I think we'll do this screen. Yeah. Okay, this is the right screen to do. Okay. If no... Okay, wait, hold on. Let me just make sure this is all working. Ecamm live audio. Haxor, are you with me? Hello? Haxor. Haxor. Brother. Okay. We got our first potential caller here. Just come on in and raise your hand. Makar, are you here? Brother.
نعم أنا هنا. Yes, I'm here.
There you are.
Thanks for having me here on your show.
There you are. Welcome to the show, my
إسرائيل.
brother. Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام.
My
كيف
brother.
حالك؟
كله تمام الحمد لله. وانت؟
كويس. برוך השם. אני בסדר.
Baruch Hashem. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind, brother?
Yeah, I want the peace to extend in North Africa between the Jews and the North African who consider themselves as Arabs, unfortunately. And yeah, that's all, because the Nazism unfortunately is going viral,
Nazism.
even in the government.
You're talking about Nazism
Yeah.
in North. Can
Okay,
you get a little more? Can you get a little more specific?
Okay, in the Tunisian parliament,
Mm-hmm.
they saluted in a Nazi way, and at the same time, Tunisia is one of the UN countries. Well, is one of the countries who's been confirmed by the UN
Mm-hmm.
and follow the UN rules,
Mm-hmm.
and it exceeded its boundaries.
Tell them about the 35 years, Makar.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. You cannot leave Tunisia as a Tunisian citizen if you are less than 35 years old.
Oh, that's a.
You cannot leave, guys. One at a time.
Oh,
Please
you
remember how we do
need
this,
to
guys.
keep-
Everybody talk one at a time. Don't jump in, please. Keep yourself on mute unless you're up on the stage, or unless you're talking. Wait. So in Tunisia, you can't leave the country unless you're 35 years or older.
Yes, you cannot leave the country unless you are 35 years old or you have a parental permission,
Wow.
consent from your dad, or you have documents that proves your marriage.
What is the
You're married to
purpose
your
of that?
spouse.
What is the purpose of that law?
I don't know. It's absurd.
Right.
And by the way, Tunisians wanted a Jewish Tunisian guy who's from Jerba
Mm-hmm.
who went to participate in the IDF after the October 7th massacre.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted him badly to come back to Tunisia and sue him. Yeah, because he fighted the barbaric terrorists of Hamas in Gaza. And he's in Israel currently. His name, wait, let me check. Okay, Mimoun, Shai Mimoun.
Shait Maimun.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Makar. Well, I appreciate the interesting insight. We hope that the Nazism in North Africa will come to an end.
Break out.
God willing, in our time. And may we see some bigger cooperation between the Jews and the North Africans, as we have had a very long-standing relationship for a long time. And I appreciate you and the amount of love you show
Thank
Am
you.
Israel and the amount of love you show my channel. And I think that people like you are the future. And maybe I don't say it often enough, but you are the kind of, you're Muslim, no? You're not ex-Muslim.
No, I'm not.
You're
Yeah,
ex-
I'm
you're-
an ex-Muslim.
You're
I'm
ex-Muslim.
a Noahide.
You're a Noahide. You are the kind of people from the region, whether you are Muslim or not, you are the kind of people that give me hope for the region, because you are my partner for peace, and I am your partner for peace. And I see us being, and I don't want to call each person individually, but there's some people in this Discord server as well who come from the region, from the Middle East and North Africa, who are listening in, who are always a part of this. And I was talking to a Lebanese Christian. She's Coptic Christian, Lebanese, and Palestinian. And we were talking this week about how shitty Egypt is. And we were really shit talking Egypt, and she kind of got offended by me. And then we had a very lovely conversation after, kind of like clearing things up and talking about the fact that we the people who are able to sort of come together in these conversations, we're the future of this region, and it's up to us. It's our duty to actually bring peace upon this region. Our governments are not going to do it. So it's us connecting. It's people like me and you connecting and making a difference and having these conversations that will be able to actually usher in a new age of peace. So I appreciate you so
That's
much, brother.
right.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you.
All right, brother.
Thanks.
We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
Okay,
Mike.
guys, by a quiet show of hands, if there's anybody here who actually disagrees with me, because the whole concept of this show is to have a sort of open debate. If you have disagreements, you can also be pro-Israel and have disagreements with me. A lot of this live stream will get clipped as its own individual video with a potential of thousands of people to see it. So keep that in mind. But if any of you guys actually have a disagreement or something you want to confront me on, you can unmute yourself real quick and just let me know that that's you. And if not, we'll just go in order. But if anybody here actually disagrees with me, I'd love to know.
Yo, what was your point? Because I just joined. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? What was my point? Do you know what
You said like disagree with something.
Just in general, if somebody disagrees with my viewpoints, if you watch my content, you disagree on my stance about Israel.
Oh no, I love Israel.
Okay, all right.
I have a contention.
Okay, let's go for it. Can you give me a little bit about you, where you watch? Mike, I'm just gonna place you on a. If you don't want to place yourself on mute, because you have. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mike. Okay, so give me a little insight. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
So I'm. Who am I? I'm Ilkin. I'm from England, but I live in Norway. I'm 48 years old, and I'm a Christian.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, cool. So regarding your statement about the Islamic religion, the Islamic religion does not in any way, shape or form grant peace to those who are not Muslim. So if you're Jew, Christian, or atheist, there can be no peace unless you're only a Muslim. This is the ideology of Islam. There is a distinction to be made between Muslims and Islam. Now, if a Muslim wants peace with Israel, then they're going against their own religion, which is good. This is what the Muslim religious text says, the Quran and Hadith. So, if an Arab Muslim wants to live in Israel in peace with his or her fellow Israeli citizens, be they Jew, atheist, Christian, whatever, then by definition they cannot be Muslim. This is the Islamic ideology. We are seeing it in Europe, and you guys are well versed in all the Arabs that live in your country. They are foregoing their Islamic doctrine because they seek peace. The Islamic text says there shall be no peace as long as there are Jews. You look at the Hamas Charter, right? You've read it.
Could I interject? I got your point.
Sure.
First of all, I appreciate you.
Okay.
I appreciate the question.
Yeah.
So I can't say specific details for at least another week or so on what I'm doing and where I'm at right now in the world, but I have been in the last 2-3 weeks engaging with Christians on a very regular basis, and actually speaking in live crowds of like 150 Christians per engagement, which has been really crazy and cool for me. And I've learned a lot about Christianity in the last couple of weeks. I've also learned a lot about the fears that Christians today hold towards Muslims, and how a lot of that trauma, because of the way that Christians are being treated right now around the world by Muslims, is manifesting in like a real fear. And I'm not going to say it's irrational, because it's a real fear. I'll give two sides of this. Not that you even really looked for an answer, you were kind of more saying a statement, but I'll give my perspective / analysis, because I think it's important. Okay? I think the only reason why I feel so confident in talking about the Israel-Palestine conflict is, one, because I've lived through this conflict my entire life, yeah? I've been a part of it my entire life. My whole family's been a part of it. Yeah. But there's another aspect of my life that a lot of people don't know about me, okay, which if you look on my YouTube channel, or where the name of this channel comes from, The Traveling Clad, is the fact that I traveled around the world for 10 years prior to actually getting into this whole political / Israel sphere. And in those travels around the world, in those 10 years of traveling, I have engaged with, I have lived with, I have loved, I have traveled, I have dated Muslims from all over the world. And I've had generally, and I say this to the shock of a lot of people, generally an extremely positive experience with almost every Muslim I've ever encountered in life. That being said, there's a lot of, as you can see in my content today, a lot of pitfalls and a lot of shortcomings to Muslim society and Arab society that I like to call out. So I'll give my analysis, okay, about this from a very clear-cut perspective. One, I just finished reading the Quran. 100%, 1000%, there is no denying that even in the Quran, take the Hadith away, take all the other supplementary books, there are very questionable, aggressive, and sometimes straight up racist towards Jewish people statements about Jewish people and Christians. There is 1000%, you can't deny it. It is.
Right.
I can't deny it. From another perspective, okay? And this is the part that takes a lot of people, it's kind of hard to swallow this pill. And again, the only reason why I have this perspective is because I personally experienced it. The same way that many Christian groups used to be used to persecute not just Jewish people, but used to persecute other groups of people, Christianity as a whole kind of went through a reform. And we're all acknowledge that. And I would say it went through a reform in a very positive way, because the Christianity we see today that we all exist with is a way more beautiful manifestation of Christianity. And the different streams of Christianity that we've gotten to today, you know, they had to go through a lot of trauma and a lot of war and a lot of colonization and a lot of persecution to get to the Christianity that we have accessible to us today. And I can say personally, as a Jew whose family probably at one point was persecuted by Christians at some point in the world, I can't verify that, but just makes sense. I'm happy to exist in a world with a reformed Christianity. And I don't mean reformed Christianity, I mean a reformed movement of this organized religion.
I understand what you mean by Reformed Christianity,
So-
because me as a
Yeah.
Christian, there is the theological church argument from the Reformation, i.e., 1517 from the Catholic to the Reformation, and I consider myself a Reformed Christian theologically.
Okay.
But I class myself as, so I understand what you mean by reform, like the Reformation to the rest of the world.
Beautiful.
So the non-persecution of, I
Beautiful.
understand.
So
Yeah.
now when it comes to Islam, and sometimes people expect of me, because I'm an Israeli, because I'm a Mizrahi Jew, because my family and my people have suffered immensely under Islamic extremism, sometimes people expect me to stand up on stage, to stand up on the YouTube videos and say, I disavow all Muslims, almost like they want me to almost speak as if I'm a traumatized ex-Muslim, which I have immense respect and immense, I really feel for ex-Muslims who have gone through the traumatic experience they have, and especially leaving Islam. You hear about the horror stories of leaving Islam. I really get where they're coming from. But from my perspective, and I don't know if this is fortunate or unfortunate, I have been lucky enough to see aspects of Reformed Islam and different Islam that just, I cannot feed into the extreme negativity and generalization of all Muslims. My personal human moral code does not allow me to. And let me give a little bit of a nuance to it, because I know you guys may think like, oh, Tal's, endorsing Islam, Tal's endorsing Muslim extremism. It's not this. I'll give you guys two perspectives. When I was in India, about 6 months before the war started, I was exposed to the Sufi branch of Islam. For those of you guys who don't know, the Sufis are a branch
Mystics.
they're the mystic sort of, they're like the branch of mystic sort of Kabbalist Muslims. They don't believe in not listening to music. They don't believe in not being able to dance. They generally uphold views of love and compassion and understanding of all groups of people, and they number in the millions. They came out of Iran originally and spread to India. They exist in Nigeria nowadays. They're all over the world. And this branch of Islam, because of its reform and because of its open-mindedness to adapt and change in the modern day, and because of its rejection of certain extremely racist and extremely violent hadiths, which again are not Quranic, they are supplementary information that not every single Muslim has to abide by. Each Muslim groups, we've even had Muslims who have called in here who have told us, no, I don't believe in the hadith, and then you counter them on the hadith and they're like, well, I believe in this one, but I don't believe in this one because it's convenient for me. That is what Islam is. You kind of choose and piece the religion in for yourself. But the reason why I can't get up on a stage and be like, I disavow all Muslims, I disavow the entire religion of Islam, is because I've seen through my own eyes what's possible under Sufi Islam. And let me tell you firsthand how incredible it is. And not from a perspective of I want to convert to Sufism, it's just they really get it. And these are the kind of people, Sufis are really the kind of people who can be examples for how Muslims can behave and how Muslims can treat each other. Because I think the problem with Muslims is not so much how they treat us, first and foremost is how they treat each other before how they treat us people, Christians and Jews and other ethnic minorities around the world, and Buddhists and Hindus. It's first and foremost how they treat each other, because if they treat each other like shit, which they do, how are they going to treat us? That's what I always tell people. What do they have in store for us if they're treating each other like garbage? So Sufis sort of reject that ideology of violence. They reject the ideology of violent, militant jihadism or Islamism. And they embrace the idea of love and compassion and understanding and deep, deep meditation, deep introspection. I think that Sufism is really, it could be the future of Islam. But from the other perspective, it shows you how fucked up the mass majority of the Muslim world is today, because Sufis are not considered real Muslims. They're persecuted by quote unquote Sunnis and Shiites for being more compassionate, more loving. So clearly there is a big problem in the Muslim world when you have a branch that is so harmless and so beautiful and a real beautiful manifestation and understanding of the Quranic words and the Quranic ideas, and really negates the idea or really rejects the idea of violence and persecution, and the vast majority of the Muslim world says, hey, that's not right. That's a problem within the Muslim world. And again, just to add one last thing, and I'll let you speak again, Ahmadi Muslims are very similar in that perspective because they've been so persecuted. And Alawites, I would say, are also kind of similar to this perspective as well. People think that Islam is this all-powerful 2 billion people ummah that's united in this one cause. People don't understand how vastly destroyed the Muslim world is from the inside out. It's actually one of my goals is to destroy it even further for them from a personal identity understanding of being Arab and being Muslim. Because Muslims, the biggest enemies to Muslims in the world are other Muslims. The biggest danger to Muslims is other Muslims. The biggest danger to Arabs in this world are other Arabs. They kill each other and murder each other and harass each other and do the worst violence to each other on a rate far, far larger than any other group of people on planet Earth towards anybody else. And so when you're able to call that out and point it out to them and show them, hey, you guys persecute your Sufis, you persecute your Alawites, you persecute your Ahmadis because they believe in coexistence, because they believe in compassion, and these people number in the millions around the world, that's a problem in Islam. But it doesn't mean that we can't inspire change. So long rant over, I'll let you touch on it, but that's kind of my perspective on what's possible in Islam.
I would add to that, and thank you for your reply and your chat. Again, given that you've lived in those areas, I've never been to the Middle East. I've never been to, that includes Israel as well. Israel is a part of the Middle East. I've born and brought up in the West, and unfortunately, the Western mindset is not known to that which the fundamentals of the Islamic religion teach. Now, like you, I do distinguish between the people and the theology, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? Most Muslims, according to my understanding, do not know what their religion is teaching.
True.
Because they don't read for themselves what their sunnah, their religion, is actually saying.
That's
Again,
true.
it's one can, we don't want to go down through the no true Scotsman fallacy. They're not real Muslims. ISIS are not real Muslims. The only true Muslims are the ones who are peace loving. But those in ISIS, Hamas, Al Qaeda, they would say the same thing, contrary to what we in the West, have understood regarding Islam. We are a religion of peace, and a man's own religion is his own religion, and you're free to believe in what you believe, and we are free to believe in what we believe, and we're Muslim, and we are of the Abrahamic faith. This is known as the doctrine of taqiyya, lying.
Yeah.
We are seeing that in Europe, especially in Britain, where they are talking about blasphemy laws because Muslims' feelings are hurty. We've got again, it's incumbent on all of us, Jew or Gentile, religious or non-religious, Muslim or no, to understand what it is that is fundamentally happening and where it comes from. So within the quote-unquote 3 Abrahamic religions, I don't classify Islam as an Abrahamic religion.
It's Ibrahimic.
It's not. It's contradictory to what the Abrahamic religion, Judaism and Christianity actually teach.
Yeah.
But given that, my last point would be
Just keep it kind of brief if you can. I want to take the next caller.
sure, for those of us who don't know too much about Islam, there is the internet, and we can figure out the fundamentals of what Islam fundamentally teaches regarding other religions and other people groups.
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage anybody to, study upon that. Ex-Muslims, be they Christian or non-Christian, it doesn't really matter, and go to the sources the Quran, the Hadith, the interpreters, and things like that, to finally figure out why it is that we have, groups like ISIS, Al Qaeda, and stuff like that. Then we can properly then adjudicate what it is that we're facing against.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Thanks so much, brother,
Yeah.
for calling in. Appreciate your question. Quickly, before we move on to the next callers, I just want to shout out Uriel for dropping us €249, saying keep up the good work of the true human being. Appreciate you, Uriel. And Quran, unchangeable final word of Allah, not a letter. Don't totally understand that, but appreciate the 2 super chats from you, brother. And Yoav dropped a 60 shekel and said, Avodat Kodesh, keep it up, bro. Thank you so much, Kapara. Appreciate you very much. Okay, let's run it again. Anybody here actually interested in debating something with me? Does anybody here disagree
Yes,
with my
if I
points?
may.
Tal, it's Mike.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. We got 2 people. I'll let Doan go first.
Thank you. What I wanted to, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, and sorry. What I think that when we're discussing about the Middle East, Israel, Palestine, Palestinians, and Israelis, Westerns, and Arabs, and all of the theological discussions, I think that the one party that is always missing in the stories that we tell everywhere is the story of Israel itself. Because everybody knows, or should know, how dangerous the Muslims can be and how Hamas are monsters. But how many people can you actually say are people really know us Israelis? How many do they actually people can say they actually know us, that we are human beings, we are good people, flawed but good, who are trying to always be better. People have a idealized perception of us, but they don't know us. And and when you know someone, then you can truly love them. And I feel like people are not knowing us enough. Like for fuck's sake, just recently we buried a number of the returned hostages who came back. I won't even start talking about the Bibas family because it's also very painful. But what about the stories of Israel? Because always it feels like we are rebuking or reacting or explaining talking points that are created by our opposition, by the anti-Semites or by the Palestinians or whoever you prefer. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I get you, and I appreciate the sentiment so much. First of all, thanks for calling in. And yeah, this is the whole idea of the YouTube channel. This is the whole idea of what I do today. This whole concept of hasbara, quote unquote, of explaining ourselves is bullshit. We need to be on the offensive of the storyline, and that's what I do. The idea is to attack the other side violently from a storyline perspective, and make sure that everybody understands we've never lived in peace, that our stories are platformed, and that our ideas are put in the forefront, and that we stop this idea of we're always on defense. Jews and the Friends of Israel, Zionists, need to go on the offensive in the media war, and I definitely appreciate that sentiment. Mike Jones, welcome to the show.
What's up, Tal?
How you doing, brother?
Good. Tal, I actually came across this Discord because I was watching your YouTube videos, and I really like everything you say. For the most part, and I saw you've also traveled to Costa Rica, unrelated, but yeah, that's where I'm from. And
Cool.
There was a wave of Ashkenazi Jews that came in the 19th century, and then come to find out have some Ashkenazi in me. Going forward with that, it seems like a lot of the Ashkenazis had hid their Jewish identity, and they were in Catholicism. So now that I say Catholicism, that's the topic I want to touch. You mentioned that Christianity has gone through a reform of things, and it's much better than it was before. I can agree that during the Crusades, there was definitely a lot of anti-Semitism going on and persecution for Jewish people. Would you say, or would you agree, and this is where I stand, but I think that Christianity in the 300 AD was hijacked by the Roman religion and the paganism that was going on from the actual Jews who started it to begin with,
Absolutely.
the followers of Yeshua.
Absolutely.
So, as I am a Christian, and I believe that Yeshua is my savior. That's kind of the building block of Christianity. But I always try to examine it from a Jewish lens, and I think that that's the biggest failure, whether here in the United States or in other places in North America or even in Israel, that a lot of it is seen through this Roman Catholicism lens still, where there's still a lot of pagan influences and so forth. And I think that's sometimes creates the divide between the Orthodox traditional Jews versus maybe the Messianic Jews. And I really got an experience with the Messianic Jews. I got to do Pesach, and it was like, wow, I'm doing 10% of this in the Christian church. And I think that examining Christianity for what it has become, like a European Roman influence, is that kind of the divide that we deal with the Orthodox. And I think even in Jesus's time, there was still a divide with the Pharisees and Jesus. And I know I saw that video with you in the Messianic church, and you were surprised that there was like these Jews who believe in Yeshua, where they have the Torah and you know, the Messianic ones I've gone to, they pull it out. It's like being in a Jewish synagogue. I mean, 100%.
Yeah. So okay, so to touch on this. There's always going to be fundamental differences between the Christian church, even Messianic Jews or Messianic Christians, and mainline or mainstream Judaism today. Those fundamental differences start and end at Jesus being the Messiah, and they're kind of unchangeable. But there is no doubt on planet Earth that a lot of Christianity, early Christianity, has been hijacked by Eurocentric views and by colonization. Something that I learned in my experience with the Messianic Jewish community in Jerusalem was the fact that, not many people know this, but early on, churches in Europe, they used to have an entrance for Jews and for non-Jews, which is insane because early Christianity was very much a Jewish stream of thought. It was very much a Jewish religion. I mean, it was religion with the belief that Jesus is the Mashiach and had already come. It's over time that things changed and you see the modern manifestation of Christianity today. Do I think that would solve all our differences? Is rejecting the Eurocentric notion and all that stuff? I don't know what to say because there's so much trauma and violence and persecution that's been done in the name of Christ and in the name of Christianity to spread it, especially casted upon Jewish people, that I'm not sure that you could ever really fix that trauma. But I do think that a great building block for both the Jews and for Christians is to start by meeting and having these conversations. I definitely think the idea of proselytizing or missionary work towards Jews can be very, very deeply offensive and kind of scary. So the idea of coming on neutral ground and just kind of trying to meet and understand the things that we agree on rather than our differences first and foremost, and trying to see where we can find common ground, the commonalities between our two religions and faith. I've been saying this a lot as I've been speaking with Christian groups. We really don't have better partners right now. Christians and Jews have been casted into a world, and I would say this more so for Middle Eastern Christians. So if there's anybody who's listening here who's a Middle Eastern Christian, I really hope you open your ears up. Jews and Christians are now back against back, in the same world, in the same fight. We have to work together. We don't have any more options. We are fighting against an enemy that wants to see us, and this enemy is global jihadism, global Islamism. We are fighting against an enemy that wants to see all of us killed and that doesn't respect all of us. And so us working together and finding the commonalities where we can agree and where we can work together is so, so, so important without trying to undermine each other, without trying to trump each other. Just finding out the places which we agree, we agree in. We believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We believe in the Jewish sovereignty of the state of Israel, of the land of Israel. We believe in the temple. We believe in the existence of, and hopefully the desire to build a third temple and to ushering in. I think in the Christian view, it's a little bit different with ushering in like the second coming of Jesus, but at least ushering in a new age of the Messiah. So there's a lot of things that we actually come together. And I think for a long time, there's been this notion casted upon us that we have way more in common with Muslims than we do with Christians. But in reality, if you reframe how the Christian church is built and you try to shed away the Eurocentric things that have been put on it, there's actually so many similarities between Jews and Christians. And I think that there's a lot that Christians can learn from Jews. I think there's also stuff that Jews can learn from Christians, especially about the history of Christianity. But there's so much that Christians can actually learn from the sources of their religion, or the origins of their religion, from Israel and from Jews and from the people who have been caretaking of this land for a very, very long time. And again, to touch on the point of Arab Christians or Christians in the Middle East have nothing left. Their only peace partners, their only help is in the form of the Jewish people. We've built ourselves back. The Christians of the Middle East are a dying breed. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame, because the Christians of the Middle East are a lot of times they're going to be the original inhabitants of the Middle East, and maybe even people who are originally genetically Jewish. And it's a shame to see them dying out. It's a shame to see them persecuted. It's an absolute travesty. And the fact that we can't come together as Jews and Christians more so and more often to protect our Christian brothers in the Middle East, our Christian brothers and sisters, and to work together for a future where we actually stand together against this common threat, it really is a damn shame. So that's kind of my take on it. I see a lot of promise in the potential cooperation between Jews and Christians in the future. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to be a part of it. And I'm really excited to educate Christians who come across my content, people like you, and people like the guy who called in earlier from, I think he was from the UK, about how real the land of the Old Testament is, the Old Testament and the New Testament, how real the land of our Bible is, how tangible it is, and how important it is that, one, you pray for Israel, and that you love Israel, and that you believe in the sovereignty of Israel, and the Jewish people controlling and being in power of the state of Israel, but the protection of this terrestrial land, this land that's so important that we be in charge of and that we be the custodians of. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the matter. Hope that's a good answer, Mike.
Yeah, you basically nailed the same words in the New Testament, how Christians and Jews are kind of with their backs against the wall, and it's one of those prophecies in biblical literature that was kind of professed as, in those times, we will be persecuted, and I think we're both in it together as Jews
We're in
and
it
Christians.
together, absolutely. We gotta be in this fight together. We gotta stick strong together. And again, there's things we're gonna disagree on fundamentally forever. There's just some things we'll never be able to see eye to eye on, and that it is what it is. We shouldn't have to.
That's okay.
And it's okay, but as long as we can lead with love, which is honestly something I see Christians doing a lot more often than I see Jewish people doing. I would say this because Jewish people they endure a lot of trauma, and that's also a fair response to that. But Christians, a lot of times, are leading with an immense amount of love. If we can really all encapsulate that a little bit more and try to be more loving on one another, more cooperative on one another, I think we can get to a place of immense unity. We're stronger.
Absolutely.
We're stronger if we work together. That's the reality.
Absolutely. And like you said, we could see eye to eye in the simple fact that love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. I mean, they were just summed up in 2 greatest commandments. And I don't see anything wrong with those commandments. And I think your average person with common sense would also see the same way. They're just this basic universal principles of loving.
Absolutely. All right, Mike. Well, I appreciate you calling in, bro. This was a really fun conversation. Appreciate you, brother.
Definitely.
Thanks. Okay, anybody else, just going to give an opportunity here. Anybody else disagree with me, want to debate with me on something, have an argument, something they want to say against what I've been talking about? Who is that?
Yes.
Zentap.
Zentap.
Yeah, bullshit.
Yes.
Bullshit. I don't believe you. I call bullshit.
Let me in.
Karina? Okay, Zentap, sit out for a moment. Let's bench you real quick. Karina, welcome to the show. First time caller, right?
Caller.
First time caller. Welcome to the show, Karina. What's up?
Okay, my name's Karina. You can call me K Diddy. I'm defender of all innocence. Everyone here loves me. The Jews love me. I'm very popular. Anyway, yeah, you're welcome for having me.
Thank you.
Okay, I am a Zionist, but I'm also pro-Palestinian.
Okay, the two things aren't mutually exclusive, so I have no problem with that.
Oh my God! Thank God you have more than 2 brain cells.
I mean, I don't know how much of my videos you watch. I consistently in my videos say how much I love and want the best for Palestinians and Arabs, but I'm extremely disappointed at their shortcomings in behavior. You know, I love
Bro,
them
people in this
dearly.
chat have like negative brain cells. Like they don't understand that things like
Okay, without degrading
aren't
the
mutually
chat, without
exclusive.
degrading the chat, give me your, because that's never gonna go well for anybody. Give me like, what is it something that you disagree with me on, or
I like bullying them though. Something that I disagree with. Okay, do you believe that Palestinian culture is real?
yeah, I think that today there's no denying it. Do I believe that the sources of it are faulty? Yeah, 100%. But there's no denying that Palestinian culture today, it's an identity, it's a culture, it's a nationality. You can't remove it. You know, it's a real thing.
Okay, so I guess we could agree. I mean, like half the people in your chat disagree with that.
That's fine. A lot of people disagree with
Not
that.
even half. Like, oh my God, like so many people. It's crazy. Like you say, like
The reality is, though, Karina, that like Palestinian identity at its source is very faulty. Like if you look into it for more than 3 seconds, it's a bit bullshit. But I can acknowledge that Palestinians today hold themselves a real identity. I can't take that away from them. They do believe that there are real people. They believe that they are a thing. But what I always say is that, like, I always ask, what is a Palestinian? Somebody describe to me what a Palestinian is.
someone who's from the region who's lived there for many, many years.
Yeah, but there's
Or his family has lived there for
Jews
many
who have
years.
been living in that region for a very long time, and Assyrians and Phoenicians, and they're
Yeah,
not Palestinians.
Jews, Assyrians.
So
Oh,
what
I mean, they
what
could be
is
considered. They could
what
consider themselves a
but
Palestinian.
what is a Palestinian? Because, like, for example, what is an Israeli? An Israeli is a mix of different identities and ethnicities from around the region and from other parts of the world who have come together to live in a land, in a country known as Israel. And Israel is a nationality, not an ethnicity. But what is a Palestinian?
Someone who lived in the land that is currently Israel. They lived in Mandate Palestine, I guess.
Yeah, but
That was
that's not
under
that's
British
not a good
control.
definition, because there's tons of people who lived in the Mandate who aren't Palestinian today.
Well, they choose not to identify as Palestinian, but I mean, the ones that do do.
No, the reality is that Palestinian is a nationality. That's the correct answer. It's a national identity, but it's not an ethnicity.
I don't think anyone thinks it's an ethnicity.
You'd be surprised. The majority of people actually believe that it's a people group, that it's an actual
That's the best way
ethnicity.
to describe it though, a nationality. But obviously they don't have a country, so it's kind of like a misnomer.
But so that's the thing. It's a national identity that formed in '67. And so it's a very new national identity. Again, you can't rid them of the belief of this national identity, but this national identity gets very confusing if the national identity and at its core is built in the opposition to another national identity. If you take away the desire to destroy the state of Israel from Palestinian national identity, there's literally not much left.
I feel like that's a stretch.
It's not. Describe to me something that's rooted in Palestinian identity, that is exclusive to Palestinian identity, that doesn't involve resistance. And I can name you a bunch, but I'm curious if you know some.
Like Palestinian, like things about their culture that are like
None of
exclusive to
their,
them.
for example, none of their foods, and I even found this. I found this out the hard way, because I used to advocate that some of their dishes was actually theirs, because I used to say, oh, this is a really cool Palestinian dish. And my audience actually corrected me, was like, that's actually not a Palestinian dish. We eat this in Jordan, we eat this in Lebanon, we eat this in Egypt, and it's actually, the sources of it don't even come from the Levant. It actually comes from somewhere else. So their food
Are
is
you
not
gonna say like
originally theirs.
Magluba or something?
Yeah, like Makluba is not originally Palestinian, neither is Mansaf, neither is Masakhin, neither is almost anything that's created there, neither even Knafe, is not even originally, sources don't even originally come from any sort of Arab or Palestinian identity. So, like, that's not there. Their flag is not originally Levantine, has nothing to do with them. The kafia is originally Iraqi. They don't have a national currency. They don't have a history of a country. They don't have a leader. They don't have borders. They don't have a map. There's literally, when it comes to the national identity, if there's anything other than resisting Israel, resisting the idea of Jewish sovereignty in the land, the whole thing kind of falls apart. The weaving is not originally theirs. The embroidery clothes is not originally theirs. The dapka is not originally theirs. And I could go on and on and on and on. And
But like you could say that about literally any culture though. Like you could literally be like, oh well, like the burrito is from this place, and Italians didn't have tomatoes until they found the New World, and so like, do they really even have spaghetti sauce? Like you can say that about so many things. So just because the keffiyeh came from Iraq, like now it's the way that it has a pattern and stuff is uniquely Palestinian, and it is
absolutely not. Literally the design that they use today was stolen from Iraqi fishing communities. I've made a few videos on this. The kafia that they use today is still an original Iraqi kafia that came from Iraq. I have pictures of Iraqis from the 1930s and 1920s, well before Palestinians ever started wearing them, wearing those kafias in the swamps and the marshes of Iraq. So that's not theirs for sure. And it's not something that they were using for 100 years that became Palestinian. It's cultural appropriation in the modern day. Iraqis and Palestinians have nothing to do with each other genetically. They're not the same group. One is Mesopotamian, Babylonian. One is a Levantine, questionable Arab identity. Questionable. I mean, Mesopotamians and Babylonians.
I don't know, dude. I gotta look into these claims you're making. You're making some pretty big claims. I gotta do some research.
Do some research on my YouTube channel. I've done a lot of videos on these things, and I've added sources to most of them. So, I mean, you could look up the idea of a kafia. It comes from the city of Kufa in Iraq. That's where the name comes, and it's a cultural appropriation of the shmach. It was
I mean, like, but regardless, even if it's a cultural appropriation, like that's just how culture works. Like people get inspiration from other cultures and they make it their own.
That's how colonization works. It's a difference. It's a very big.
It's how culture works.
No, it's how colonization works. When you steal somebody else's identity and you reform it as your own, that's colonization. That's not culture. So, for example, I'll give you a good equation that I do with most people. Some people have a hard time answering it, but you seem like a very smart, intelligent lady. I think you won't have a problem with this. Okay, North America. Let's go back a couple hundred years. Okay, everybody there was Native American groups, indigenous communities. They were polytheists. They had different religions. Nowadays, majority of people are Christians, and a majority of people speak English. It's obviously a generalization. There's a lot of diversity in North America, but that's the generalization. What is that a product of?
Colonization.
Beautiful. Great. You got 1 out of 3 correct. Number 2, South America.
Damn.
Used to be full of indigenous groups, Native Americans, a bunch
Spanish.
of different. Most people
Next
speak
one.
Spanish. Most people practice Catholicism. It's a result of.
Oh, I forgot the word. Sorry.
Come on, you can get it.
Brain fart. My bad. Okay, where are you going with this? Go.
Where I'm going with this is look from Morocco, so South America colonized, Morocco till Iran. Okay, used to be full of diverse religions, beautiful cultures, different people groups, different civilizations. Now, everybody, a majority of people speak Arabic or at least use it as their font and practice one religion, Islam. That is a product of?
The Islamic conquest.
And the C word, what is it?
I don't know. I feel like that's a bad word. I don't want to say it anymore.
Colonization? You feel like that's a bad word?
I'm joking. It's a joke.
Okay. So, in essence, Palestinians, unfortunately, and most Arabs in the Arab world are colonized people. So it's our duty for people who understand what they've been through, which is a lot of trauma and horrible things. We need to help them unlock, in my opinion, who they really are, their real identity. Okay? I don't know, some people are saying...
That sounds like so condescending. Like, we have to help them because they don't know how to do it themselves.
So
like,
here we go. I'm a brown man from the Middle East whose family was Arabized, and my whole family is made up of refugees who were abused and tortured by Arabs. For 3 generations, I've been bombed. I'm the 3rd generation in the same land that's been bombed by Arab Muslims. I have every right in the world to try to look at them and assess that these people, 400 million of them, have a serious, deep-rooted issue in their society. I have every right to be able to look at that and say, these people have an issue. And it's my duty as somebody who recognizes their shortcomings to be able to change them. And that's what I want to do. I think that's a very, very honorable thing to do. And there's a lot of Arabs, by the way, unfortunately a lot of them can't speak on it, but even here in this Discord who recognize that and have flocked to me to be a part of my community and to talk about these things because people understand that it's a major issue. Arab society is fucked. It's horrible. It's horrific, Arab society. It is a terrible thing that we've gotten into with Arab society. And we should aspire to make a change in it, to help them step out of the horrific area that they're in, the horrific behavior they're in.
I feel like it's just like it's like such a broad category, like Arab society, because there's so many like different countries. But like if we're just talking about Palestine, definitely they're a shit show right now. So
it's pretty much all of them, Karina. Honestly, with you, even the ones that, and I don't want to necessarily touch on them because there's some of them I want to travel to in the future, so I can't say. But look into it for more than 3 seconds, even the ones who seem surface level very successful, and read about how they got to their success and how they attain and hold their success today, and you'll realize that it's very, very, very bad. Yeah, some people are writing into the chat. I'll let them type it out in the chat. It's very, very bad across the entire Arab world. There's not one country in the Arab world that inhibits anything even closely related to freedom or equality, civil rights. Not one.
I mean, they don't want those things because of Islam.
It's not just because of Islam. It's a large part of it is colonization. They're trapped. They're trapped in one worldview that they can't get out of.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for calling, Karina. I appreciate you.
Yep.
See
See
you
ya.
next time. I don't know if she was actually trolling or not. It didn't seem like she was trolling. So some people were typing she was trolling. Okay. Anybody else disagree with me? Anybody have anything else they want to touch on?
I don't disagree, but I.
Hold on. One at a time. One at a time. Anybody who disagrees with me?
No.
Nobody who
I
disagrees.
do have a
About the
question.
recipe for baklava.
Very short, I promise.
You disagree with me, reciprocity?
No, but I have a very short question. I was hoping to get your feedback on it. Actually asking it honestly.
Okay, let's go for it.
Okay, so here's what I'm looking to find out. Ben Shapiro, Sam Harris, and Steven Crowder. We get them to all agree on Israel, right? These three can't agree on anything. Yet Piers Morgan, Candace Owens, where did we go wrong? What's the difference? What is it that, I mean, because Candace Owens comes from PragerU and then the Daily Wire. What happens with the with three people who don't agree on anything can agree on Israel, and others who should be able to agree on Israel somehow get lost?
You've kind of stumped me on this one. This may be a bit of a cop-out answer, but I do genuinely believe there are some people who can't be helped. For example, Kanye West is a great example of that. Regardless of what, I think there's genuine gripes that he has with the Jewish community that are probably genuine in there, especially the Hollywood crowd / music industry crowd. I think there's
Piers Morgan and Dave Smith. I mean, these two people should be rational, right?
I don't think Piers Morgan is rational. I've called him out multiple times in videos. He's trying to make money. He's not a rational person. He's a millionaire who wants to keep feeding his bank account. He's a
both sides there. What about Dave Smith?
He's a fence sitter who wants to make money. I don't know much about Dave Smith other than the fact that he's a self-hating Jew. So I really can't commentate too much about him. But from the perspective of Kanye West / Candace Owens, I just think that there's some people who just get lost in the sauce, and it's kind of hard to pull them out. And I think that there may be genuine gripes in there that are genuine. They're serious. They're genuine things that they have gone through at the behest of certain Jewish people that may be in Hollywood or in the media industry, and they're genuine but not addressed. And that may be also a part of the Jewish people who have a problem that we allow these things to happen, whether there's shitty business practices or a culture of I don't even want to get into it because I'm so far removed from that world. That's not my Judaism. Like, I don't know anything about that world. I'm uninvolved with that world, but I think there may be genuine things that they went through. But Kanye West, for example, and probably Candace Owens by virtue too, these are both people who probably suffer from a lot of mental illness. I mean, Kanye does. Candace Owens, I think it doesn't manifest in something we can see, but I'm sure she deals with mental illness. I mean, I made a video about her that was really deep and really informative, and I know she watched it, and she replied to me with LMAO. That's not a normal response.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she actually went out of her way to message me, laughing my ass off. That's not a normal thing. That's like clearly something wrong with you.
Because with her, I just want to know: does she know about the Green Prince? Does she know who Mossab Hossein Yusuf is? If she does, I have a different opinion. If she doesn't, I have a different opinion.
I'd be remiss if she didn't know about him. I think it's nearly impossible for somebody of her pedigree in this space to not know about him. I'd be shocked. She's also been to Israel, which is something in the video I didn't know if she went to Israel or not, but she has been to Israel. She visited. She actually got a tour of it and like just clearly didn't understand what she was looking at, or I don't know, maybe she was on a shitty tour. I just think that the person is kind of not with us 100%. You know, and by the way, I do generally hold this belief of most people who jump onto the pro-Palestine crowd. It may be a self-flatulating position to be holding. It may be a little egocentric. It may be a bit pretentious. But I do genuinely hold that most pro-Palestinians are not the smartest of the bunch. And I think these people are predisposed to a little bit of not being 100%. And it's because it's so easily debunked. Like, the history of Palestine and the pro-Palestinian movement, it requires so little brain power.
Little effort.
To be neutral. To be neutral on the matter. Not pro-Israel or pro-Palestine, just to be neutral on the matter. It requires so little effort. So anybody that I see who genuinely gravitates to that, and unfortunately, it reinforces an idea that I learned while traveling the world, is that, and again, this may seem a little pretentious, and I don't mean to offend anybody with saying this, but I traveled to this, I'm now in my 70th country. I've been to 70 countries around the world, and one of the main things that I grabbed from this conclusion of traveling around the world over 10 years was that, unfortunately, a large, vast majority of the population of planet Earth are just not that intelligent.
Right. I agree. No, I agree. One last quick thing here is I had a friend of mine who was an atheist, and I could not convince him to go away from this pro-Palestine stance until I pointed him at Sam Harris. Then he listened to Sam Harris, and then he was on board. So I'm just wondering if there's any kind of quick fix for people in a similar fashion.
Quick fix, I don't know. It's got to, you know, with Israel, it's got to hit at the right strings. I really think it's kind of like a magnet thing. Like, you got to have the right pro-Palestinian meet the right Zionist, and then when it touches, it fixes it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like it's one of those, you know, those things that they do with their kids. Like, you put the circle inside of the circle, you put the triangle in the triangle. I don't know what those are called. That toy. And so I think that's a really good equation for the pro-Palestinian perspective. Like, there's a lot of pro-Palestinians who are the whole, and you try to put in a triangle and it's not going, and you try to put in a circle and it's not going, and then you get the square, put the square in the square, and it fits. And this YouTube channel,
pointed him to an atheist, and then he's on board.
This YouTube channel and this community is a very good manifestation of that. Like, it's a very good representation of that. We have people here who have messaged me that they started watching my content and I literally changed their mind. Because it's my life experience, it's the way that I look, it's the way that I talk, it's how I speak about the subject that's able to sort of fit that hole, and boom, you get a perfect reaction. But it could be my friend Barak, or it could be my friend Sahal, or it could be Shai Fleischer, or it could be Tovia Singer, who do the same exact thing and talk to them in the same exact way, but it won't have the same effect, you know? But it took me to fit that hole.
God bless you, and thank you. God bless you, and thank you for what you do. I want to let somebody else go for that.
Okay, brother. Thank you for calling. It was really nice of you to speak. Anybody that disagrees with me here, anybody that wants to debate.
I don't have a disagreement or a debate. I'd rather just tell you a life story. Like, I came to your streams because I was like trying to get into the Discord for a while, but the Patreon link isn't working for some reason.
That's not good. The Patreon link is not working?
Like, let me explain. So, like, I linked my Discord to the Patreon, and I would like try to like join. It would say I'm joining, but like every time I came back to Discord, there was nothing like popping up, no Discord channel or anything. So I was like, oh.
Can you message?
And I don't know what it is.
Can you message Jack or Lola so we can just manually put you in? Just send us like a receipt. We'll manually put you into the Patreon chat.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm here now. I'm in this chat right here.
Okay.
This was why I was trying to get into the server itself. I made a comment on one of your videos a while ago, and you liked it, and I was here to say that Shalom Alaikum from Lebanon.
Hey,
from
brother.
southern Lebanon, I should say.
Wow, southern Lebanon.
I'm here to explain, like, I've got a life story here, and it's like, I was buried on October 7th, and we didn't get the news until we went to the hotel, and I was like, oh shit, right? Like, I was like, this isn't going to be good, you know? I was very upset about the Palestinian thing. The reason I have been trying to get in touch with somebody is because I got to make it clear, not all Lebanese hate Israel, and there are people who are here trying to like form a movement, right? Like our new president, we're hoping will sign the Abraham Accords. The problem is we have Hezbollah breathing down our backs. Even if you guys eliminated like the majority of them, they're still threatening us with a civil war. You know, if we try to normalize relations with Israel. For example, when the president said to that Iranian plane, "You're not landing in our airport," all the Hezbs, they all started screaming, "Oh, you're taking orders from the Zionists! You're an enemy!" You know, things like that. And it's been a trip here. I stayed here throughout the war, and I left my house when the bombing really got intense. Like a rock, or it was a rocket or a missile flew over the house. Like you just heard the whistle, right? And when I heard that, I was like, we gotta pack our shit and go, right? So we ran to the mountains. Now, my mother is a American, Hungarian, Polish woman, right? With Jewish, with her mother was Jewish. God bless her soul. I never got to meet her, and I was interested in the whole thing of supporting Zionism for a while, right? My father's side is Shia. I've had cousins I've had to cut out of my life because they are blindly supporting Hezbollah and shit, and they went to those Hezbollah camps, right? I don't know like those training camps, and I've had to cut them out of my life. These guys, my cousins, they're only like 14, 15, 16, 17, you know, like a mix of this age, and they're going to these camps telling me that Hezbollah is putting like medicine in their food so they don't get erections because they can't jerk off and all that stuff, right? And they're telling me things like, oh, they give us guns and they teach us how to shoot and everything. And I tell them, I say, okay, what is it your point is to do exactly? They're like, oh, we're trying to save Al-Aqsa. I said, but Palestinian land is not Lebanese land. Why are you going to go fight for the Palestinian land? They told me, it's because that mosque is for all of Islam. I said to them, before it was a mosque, it was a temple. You cannot say that it belongs to you guys. I mentioned an idea because they're still complaining about the Shebach farms.
Shebach farms.
Yeah, Shebach farms at the northern Israel, which used to belong to Lebanon on the Lebanese side before the Lebanese were launching rockets, so it got annexed.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking
about. Well, I've mentioned this. I've asked my family. I said, if Israel were to give Shebach farms back, would Hezbollah cease to like be aggressive? Would they be happy? Would they be, you know? And I had one cousin say no. He was like, no, we want all of Al-Aqsa and all this shit. And then I had one cousin say, we don't know what Hezbollah would do. And then I've had one cousin say, all we need is our part of the land back. And my argument with them was, the problem is, just like the Shia and the Sunni fighting each other, you cannot, how do you say, you guys won't be happy until you have it all. You want your cake and you want to eat it too, you know? Like, that's their problem. It baffles me, really. Like, it's...
Can I counter a little bit of what you're saying in a very polite way?
Yeah. Of course.
Okay. Now I'm gonna say, oh wow, we're gonna get two Lebanese in here. This is because I was gonna say, Steven, you sound like our friend Sammy, and Sammy just popped in. Sammy, are you here? Sammy's Lebanese as well. I think he's Southern Lebanese as well. Let's see if Sammy joins in. It'd be crazy if we had double Southern Lebanese in the chat. Okay. This part of the live stream is definitely going to get clipped, by the way, because it's rare that we get Arabs to call in now. So here's my personal opinion, okay? And I'm going to try to say this in the most respectful manner possible. One, just in this simple conversation, you proved to me a couple things about the society that you come from, which is the Arab society. Do you believe that you're an Arab? Do you identify as Arab?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't identify as Arab because I was born in the States. I'll tell you what I do identify as. I identify as a Levantine. We're in the Levant. We're not part of the Arabian Peninsula.
So it's so interesting because the people around you, they pick and choose when they enter the Arab circles and where they exit them. And they also pick and choose racistly when they defend Arab land and when they don't. And again, I agree with you. You have no responsibility over Palestinian land, which again isn't Palestinian land because there's no such thing as Palestinian land. But
Exactly.
You have no one, you have no right to it, but two, you have no responsibility over it. You should be focusing on bettering your nation and your borders. So I agree with you, but that's
And I've
also
been spreading this message.
but that's also a
I've
clear
been spreading that
indication. It's a clear indication of what I talk about on a regular basis, which is the Arab world, or at least the people who exist in the Arab world, pick and choose when they want to be racist or when they want to be discriminatory against their neighbors when it is convenient for them. And I'm not saying that as a shortcoming of you, Stephen. I'm saying that as a shortcoming of your society as a whole. You guys will pick and choose when you enter those circles to say, hey, this is a cause I want to get behind because I believe in these people. But when the going gets rough, instead of being united, I'll just throw these people under the bus. Again, not a representation of you. It's a representation of your people at large. That's one. Two, I'm of the personal belief, and I will say this, and it will sound offensive, and it will sound pretentious, but I truly believe it, okay? Buckle up. This can be a little spicy. I believe it's worth fighting for. You guys have nothing. You have nothing to do with Islam. You have nothing to do with Arabs, and literally nobody in the Arab world believes you're Arabs. You guys, even 99% of you don't even believe that you're Arabs, and you're the. I'm not saying this in a way that you guys are, but you're the laughingstock of the Muslim world. You guys focus on buying Gucci bags and having orgy parties in Beirut and representing that as your society rather than being true Muslims. So why the fuck do I as a Jew need to be running from rockets from your fucking country when you guys don't even believe in the thing you're fighting for yourself? And Stephen, again, this is not a representation of you, but what I'm because I don't think that you're a part of the problem, but your society.
Oh hell no! As I said,
your society
I hold on to my Jewish roots of things.
And I think that you guys, if you were smart about it, you would rise up and fight this fight so we don't have to do it for you because we're not going to do a good job at it.
I've said this. I've said this to all the Christians I've came across, and the problem is. How do you explain?
Let me wait, Stephen. Let me add in one more thing. I'm going to cut you off and then I'm going to let you speak. It's one last thing. I've read everything that I do. Okay, every conversation piece, every argument that you hear me speak, I've done an immense amount of research to back up what I'm going to say. And I know shit about your society that you'll be shocked to know. Okay, and specifically with Lebanese people, I've had an insane year with Lebanese people. An insane amount of support behind the scenes from Lebanese people. I've had conversations with Lebanese people who I never thought in my life I'd have. Ever in my life. Like I've gotten a very deep perspective on Lebanon, more so than I ever could have imagined. And the conclusion that I got from it, okay, is that there's a true problem in Lebanese Christian society where it's kind of corrupt in a sense that we know that you guys have millionaires, Maronite Christians and other Christians from Lebanon that fled Lebanon all over the world. If you guys wanted a true uprising, that you guys are way more powerful than the Jewish communities, you're way more powerful than the Jewish cabal. If you really wanted to fight this fight and clear your country of radical Islam, take back Lebanon as a Christian country, or at the very least a Muslim country that supports Christianity, you could have done it tomorrow. What it'll require? You guys to lose millions, potentially billions of dollars collectively. Your community will be under fire for many years, and a lot of you are going to die. But at the end of the day, you might get a chance at taking back your nation. And that's worth fighting for. That is worth fighting for. I agree.
It is. And, the things I've seen out here have made me sick to my stomach. Like for example, I'm living in a small valley, right? And above me is all the palaces and mansions of rich Shia Lebanese and everything. They go to Africa and do the slave. They have their own slave trade in Africa still, the Lebanese. For example, they're doing diamond mines, gold mines, cocoa farms, all the unethical things over there in places like the Cote d'Ivoire and Abidjan and what's that other South African area?
Liberia. It happens in Liberia. It happens in Ghana with the cocoa. It's all over West Africa.
Exactly. West Africa and South Africa, they're doing this shit. The thing is, I don't disagree with any of your points, and I agree with the civil war and everything. And I've seen the problem being I was here when you guys assassinated Nasrallah. The problem is he's so ingrained into their heads that even these children that are 5 years old are crying for a man they never even met. That's the problem. That's the problem. everything I've seen here.
The problem is as
is
well,
just-
Stephen, is you got to fight for it. You got to fight for it.
If I may.
you can't fight because the problem is the community won't allow. Like, for example, I've tried doing like, how do you say, the good fight, kind of like what you're doing over the internet, like a verbal, like talking with people. But I've tried doing it in like real life with people, like some of my neighbors and shit. I tried spreading the message, oh, Israel doesn't want war, why are we fighting for the Palestinians? And all their responses are, Al-Aqsa belongs to Islam. And I'm like, okay, but the Sunni reject you. You guys are Shia. The Sunni reject you. You guys are.
But
like,
do you understand?
know,
Do you understand, Stephen, that all of this whataboutism, and I'm not blaming you, but this is the common response I get from most Lebanese people. It's just like, but it's this, but it's this, but it's this. If you keep doing the but it's this, but it's this, but it's this, you lose your nation. You lose the nation. You guys. I could argue that you guys have already kind of lost the nation. That there's not much left to salvage. But truth is, it's worth fighting for. It's worth risking everything for. Everything. It's worth risking life and limb because you don't have anything else. The problem is, and this is an assessment of Lebanese society from somebody who has never been to Lebanon, who's looking from far away. But again, I've gotten a lot of information and inside scoop this year. I think that a lot of you are way too comfortable. Way too comfortable. You've never had to deal with the real reality of being persecuted because you are a Christian. Not yet. It's going to happen, but you're not there yet. And again, a majority of Lebanese people are too comfortable partying and buying Gucci bags in Beirut and having these random orgy parties and trance parties and doing drugs and going on vacation to Thessaloniki and to Athens and to Turkey and having fun sailing and enjoying and living as a European while your country falls apart. You know what the thing is about Europeans is? The Europeans worked and colonized and fucked the rest of the world to get to the point where they could enjoy that shit. You guys didn't. You guys have a lot of work to do left. Hold on, I see that Valk is blowing up. Valk, I can't open your messages. Valk, just are you Lebanese by chance? You want to chime in?
I do want to chime in because I personally know two girls who are the daughter Nasur family. Stephen, I'm sure you're familiar with them. There are two daughters. I personally, they're friends of my family. One of my family members. She's not friends with them anymore after I showed her a Mossad paper on how her father is Hezbollah and
I'm
ISIS.
Lebanese, but I'm not.
Hezbollah and ISIS's weapons and diamond dealer. This family owns mines in Africa. They literally own slaves. I've seen videos from the mines and I've seen how they treat the miners there. I personally met one of them before. I do want to say both of these girls are Shia Muslims and they recently had a double wedding. They recently married two Lebanese Christians, also from terrorist supporting families. It's purely a money game for Hezbollah. Hezbollah as a whole is a terrorist organization, right? But the people supporting, funding, again, diamond and weapons dealers, they own houses in Monaco, Monte Carlo. Each one of the girls has at least 20 Birkins. And they're both, so this idea that Lebanese Christians are excluded from terrorism, I'm sorry, a lot of them are, the majority normal people are,
right.
And people who work hard for their money are totally disconnected, but the fact is there are a
Oh, wait, where'd she go?
Sorry, I muted myself on accident, my bad. There is a number of criminal families. They just, again, I know you know this already, but I'll say it for anyone who doesn't. It's forbidden, supposedly, for Muslim females to marry Christians, right? They had a double wedding. They have a 10-year difference between the sisters. Let me tell you, they had a double wedding with Lebanese Christians because they come from criminal families that probably work with their father. I do want to add in, it's not the responsibility for individual Lebanese people who worked really hard for their money to do all of this, and it has come to the point where Hezbollah force people to shut the fuck, like they're the ones that have weapons, they're the ones that have money, and how do I put this? Individuals who worked really hard for their money and want to work for their children's survival are not supposed to be obliged to pay for weaponry to stand up against billionaires who control everything. They need, they can't, like, individual. Let's say I'm a millionaire right now and I'm a Lebanese Christian or Muslim or whatever, and I'm an anti-terror. Where the fuck am I gonna get some rockets from, bruh? Like dead ass. Side note.
Where are we gonna get this shit from? Yeah.
I disagree. I hard
them.
disagree. By the way, and you know I love you. I love your perspective. I think
Love
you're
you.
one of the
I love
smartest
you.
people on our server. I don't want to say exactly where she's from in the Arab world, but an Arab who's also listening in. And you know, I disagree though. I disagree hard. Like a hard disagree on that. I say is it important for Lebanese people that the source of Lebanon, that Lebanon remains Lebanon? Is that important? That's a question that every Lebanese
That is more important than their personal money, for sure. However, realistically speaking, a lot of people will not be taking that step because they care about their kids.
So then if that's the equation, then Lebanon dies. That's the death of Lebanon. If that's the equation, but what I'm offering here is a solution to not let that happen. To not let that happen. What I'm saying is, if you see that that's what's going to happen, you get then forfeit your Lebanese identity. You're not Lebanese anymore.
I agree with you.
If that's where we're going, if we recognize that the fall of Lebanon is coming and nobody's willing to fight for Lebanon, and so what's the point of it all?
I agree with you.
Well,
I
they
agree
want to go
with
to
you.
Iran.
Well,
Cal, they want the Lebanese, the Shia are saying we want to be Iranian, and that's the problem. I want to get Valk involved with this.
Iranian.
Yeah.
I also heard. Hold on.
Can I have something to.
Hold on. Before anybody else chimes in, the girl with the smiley face in the chat was also Lebanese, I believe.
Yeah.
Chimed in for a moment. I don't know if you want to chime in again. I'd love to hear from your perspective as well, if you can.
Their name is just Smiley. Oh, Iraballa. Iraballa is that their username?
Iraballa?
I don't know. Yeah, it says Araballa underneath their smiley face when I tap on their profile. I don't know.
Oh, here we
Yes,
go.
hi.
So you're Lebanese as well?
Yeah. For some reason, it's lagging for me.
Our Lebanese internet.
The name is Arab Allah.
Okay.
So what's your perspective on this? I'd love to hear your perspective as well.
I think you have to give her a few minutes. The Lebanese internet's not the best unless you pay a really high price per connection.
Not in
It's very
Lebanon.
bad.
She's not in Lebanon. Her internet's just lagging.
Okay. I was going to say, I do know some terrorist families myself, such as the Sads, the Ramadans,
Well,
and the
I'd love to be
Tajuddins.
able to talk freely, but again, it's lagging. My perspective is, again, I'm not in Lebanon.
Wait, don't say anything.
No,
let
I'm
her
not
finish her
currently
thought.
in Lebanon. My perspective is, again, I'm not in Lebanon.
Okay.
Okay, she muted herself.
Okay.
Anyways, first of all, by the way, for anybody who was wondering earlier about the change in what's possible with this channel, we opened this call with a Tunisian. Okay, we have currently 3 Lebanese people. Somebody here from Oman was in here earlier, and we have another Arab in here. That's the magic of what this channel is trying to accomplish, by the way. If this is not a testament for what we're trying to do here, I don't know what is. The fact that there's this many people from the Arab world who gravitate to this channel is literally the whole reason why I do this. Everybody knows who's an Arab who subscribes to this channel. The reason why I get up day in, day out is solely to engage with Arabs. It's always been like that from the beginning, or anybody who's Arabized or from the Arab world, because I know a lot of people aren't actually Arab. So if anybody was wondering about the power of this channel, this is a testimony to what's possible and what we actually accomplish here. Okay, I appreciate you guys all. I'm gonna try to leave room for one last caller, and this is gonna be a great clip to be on YouTube. So for you guys who called in, I appreciate you guys. I love you. Thank you so much. We'll definitely clip that on YouTube, and hopefully it gets a lot of views, and we can do a part 2 to that conversation. Israeli engages with Lebanese people. All right, anybody else in here who wants to argue with me, who has something they want to say, who doesn't agree with me. Anybody.
Tal, I don't want to argue with you, but I just would like to say thank you so much for what you're doing. It really does make a difference. Like, I understand that, like, it's not everyone, but it does make a difference, even the little things, and I do appreciate it a lot.
I want to argue with you.
Thank you so much, Fungi.
I have a question, Mr. Tal.
Yes. What's up, Dove Bear?
Oh, thank you so much. First of all, I just want to say thank you for all the content you put out. I've been following you for a while on your YouTube and everything, and it's amazing. You're doing great work, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm originally from South Africa. I currently live in Israel. A very interesting background. I was at like Christian schools, and I was at mosques all the time with my friends because most of my friends were Muslim. And later on in life, I was actually educated in any Jewish stuff, and it's just a whole range of spectrum of education that I've had. And I've always had this question when following your content, just to try and understand your position as to why is it that the Jews should be living in Israel, and if that thought process is rooted in biblical stuff, and that's my first question. Is it rooted in the fact that the Bible, that God came to give the Jews the land of Israel? Is that where your position is coming from?
No.
So can you please explain to me where your position is coming from that the Jews need the land of Israel?
They've always lived there.
And that's it?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a weak argument, Mr. Tal. The
Why?
only reason that we...
I believe Palestinians should live there too. They've always lived there. Why is it a weak argument?
Well, first of all, the Palestinians didn't always live there,
Yes,
right?
they did.
I mean, they were Arabs that were
No.
conquered the land after the fact.
Nope.
Genetically, a lot of Palestinians.
Genetically, a lot
the
of
only
these
Palestinians who lived here were what were called the Plishtim, and they were effectively wiped out. We don't even know who they are.
No, genetically, a lot of these Palestinians, especially the ones in the West Bank, have a lot of ancient Judean/Samaritan DNA. For example, the whole city of Nablus is a majority Samaritan originally, who were mass converted under the conquest of the Muslims. These are people who should remain in the land and have every right to live in the land the same way that I do. And I truly believe that. I want to find a way to live with them in peace. If it means by force, then it means by force. But I believe in Jewish sovereignty over the land. One, we conquered the land. Okay, we fought off the occupiers, which were the British, and we used our smarts and our wits to fight multiple wars. My grandparents and my family laid down their lives in some elements and laid down everything to protect their fellow Jewish people who had every single right to live and establish a state in their land. We accomplished it. That's it. We have a right to live in the land, unapologetically.
Ultimately, your position is coming from, we conquered the land and therefore it's our land.
No, we lived in the land forever, and then we wanted to create a state. There was always a Jewish presence in the land. We had the smarts, the wits. We used the, I don't even know if there's a term for it, the modern nation building strategy that nations...
Let me ask my question in a different direction.
Okay.
Let me ask why it is not rooted in a biblical sense.
Why is it not rooted in a biblical sense?
Yeah, why is your position not, hey, everybody, listen to my thought. My thought is God gave the Jews this piece of land, and that's why it's the Jews' land.
You're trying to force me into a corner that I genuinely don't believe in. I'm not the most religious person in the world.
I'm not trying to force you into any position. I'm trying to understand where your position is coming from so that I can understand
Jews
your
have always
position
lived.
much better.
Jews have always lived in the land. At a certain point, they had three different independent kingdoms in this land. Historically, not biblically, we have proof of that. Okay, they wanted to establish a state in the land. They accomplished that. That's their land. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
We can go as far back. We can go as far back only as basically Joshua entering the land of Israel. Correct. And prior to that stage,
you can go that far. But I'm talking about the three independent kingdoms that were created in Judea, in Samaria, and the province of Israel.
You're saying post Joshua coming into the land with all the tribes. You're talking post that stage.
Yeah.
And so then at that point, your position is, we came here, we weren't always here, but we came here, and then since then, there was always a presence of Jews on the land.
Correct.
And we conquered the land.
Correct.
And therefore, it's our land.
Absolutely.
And therefore, we've always been here since then. Okay, so now my question is
and unapologetically too. It's our
Yeah,
land,
I'm with you. Don't worry.
unapologetically.
I believe it's our land, bro. That's why I'm here. I'm just trying to flesh out your thinking. But now, what this also means, according to your logic, what this would mean is that if someone else comes and conquers the land, then conquering is a valid position to have land ownership. Just like now, Turkey's running around, or the new terrorists that took over Syria there. Okay, boom, it's their land, done. They conquered it. This is according to your logic. And this would mean as well that anyone who will, in the future, it will never happen, but imagine someone does come and conquer this land, it'll be their land, because according to your logic, conquering it causes you to own the land.
It can happen, 100%. It can happen. I think it depends on your
And at
history
that
and your
point-
relationship
at
with
that
the land
point-
too.
At that point, when people do come and conquer the land, then you, Tal, would have to have your position as, yes, they came and they conquered the land. We did want to have a state. We were always here, but they subsequently did conquer the land, and therefore it's no longer our land. That would be your position, correct?
No.
Why?
Because even, for example, even when other foreign entities occupied the land and conquered it, we resisted against them.
Now, this is what's happening right now, Mr. Tal.
It's not.
Prior to the Jews, just wait, let me just stay my position here. Prior to the British mandate, when the Jews were now taken from the European world and stuck back into Israel, who owned that land?
Nope.
Via conquest?
Wrong.
Who did?
I've heard this argument before. There was a population of between 10 to 30,000 Jews who existed in this land always, and they were oppressed.
I'm not worried about who existed
They
there.
were
I'm saying that
oppressed. They were oppressed by
conquered.
the Arab Muslim colonizers who moved in.
Exactly. So you've answered the question. The Arabs came and conquered the land, and they kicked us out. That's how we landed up in Europe, correct?
They didn't kick us out.
They kicked the majority of the humans
The
out.
Arabs didn't kick
And
us
there was-
out.
The Ottoman Empire did.
No, also no. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit, but
How
not,
did we get out of
not,
the
not
land? Why did
fundamentally.
we
It
even leave Eretz Yisrael?
started with Babylonians wave 1, Greeks wave 2, Persians wave 3, and Persians kind of brought us back and then took us out again. Romans wave 3, but
Exactly.
I don't think there's a lot of information basing that
this
the
is-
Ottomans
this is
or
the
the Arabs
Ottomans.
kicked us out. They abused us.
Exactly.
They treated
And so
us
now-
like
but now
shit.
according to
They treated us
your
like shit and they
position-
abused us, but they didn't kick us out of the land.
According to your position, we should be saying, according to your position, we should be saying, look, the Ottomans came and kicked us out prior to us coming back with the British mandate. Prior to us coming back, they kicked us out and they conquered the land. Fine, there were some of us left. Of course, there's always some people left when the land is conquered. But they came and they took ownership of the land, according to your position. It should now be their piece of land.
I mean,
you can hear how I'm just building up a case where the logic that you're using to our land ownership is very malleable.
It was in
And that's an
vitro.
incorrect position to have.
So what are you saying? Are you saying because of the Bible?
100%.
Okay, I mean you can use
That's
the
the
Bible
only
as an argument.
claim a Jew can
I
ever
don't
make
use the
to this
argument.
piece of land.
I don't use the argument with the Bible.
I know, and that's why I
You
want
can
to
use
have
it.
this conversation with you,
You
because
can
I can
use it
see,
all you want.
I can see into the logic that you've built out. If anyone comes and conquers this land, it will be their land. Finished.
It was,
because that's
though.
how you say
It was.
we got this land.
It was, and they took the inhabitants of the land and they abused. But it was. I mean, are you going to argue that during the Ottoman Empire it wasn't their land? It was the Ottomans' land. They had taken control over the land of Israel. But even when
But
they
you
took
will
control,
say-
even when
but
they
you will
took
say,
control,
that's not what I'll
even when they took control of the land of Israel, while they called it Palestine, they acknowledged land of Israel on all the land documents in the tablets. They acknowledged that it wasn't their land. Go find me a scenario anywhere else on planet Earth where that's happened in history. Go find me a scenario where a colonizing force comes and takes the land and acknowledges that there was a presence there before. Hold on. Pause everything you're saying. Where's my wallet?
America.
Hold on.
America.
Pause real quick. No, America. That's not true. Absolutely not.
It's true.
Especially not. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm getting my wallet. Give me one moment. 1 second.
I'm with you. No problem. Let me, whilst we're waiting for you, just state my position, okay? My position is not that we have the land of Israel because we conquered it at the time of Joshua, and since then there's always been Jews, and since then people always said, yes, the Israelis were always here in the land of Israel. The Hebrews always in the land of Israel. That's not my position.
Is my mic still
Because the
working?
land was-
Is my microphone still working? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's still working.
Okay. Show you guys something
So I
I've
don't
been
know how
using.
far
in
you
my,
thought. I was
using
I'm
something
not
in my.
watching on YouTube. I don't do a video in this Discord. It's the first time I've ever came into Discord in my life.
Okay, I'll even just for you, I'll turn on my camera on Discord too, so you can see this.
How do I make you
When
big?
the Muslims, I got two immense proofs here, okay, of both of these things. I recently made a video about this for anybody who hasn't seen this video, okay? One, you have a coin here from 1,500 years ago during the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem, okay? After the death of Muhammad, the Umayyad dynasty, the Umayyad Khalifa, who rose up and conquered Jerusalem, took the Hebrew name Beit HaMikdash and turned it into Beit al-Maqdis, and who renamed it, by the way, and took the city, they took ownership over the city from the Byzantines, not the Jews. The Jews didn't exist there for three different kingdoms of colonizers. It was the Romans, then the Byzantines, and the Arabs who colonized it. They have every single reason in the world to not put a menorah on their coin. But they minted a coin that said on the back, Muhammad Rasul Allah. On the front it says, La ilaha illallah, which means God is the only prophet. On the other side it says, Muhammad is God's only prophet. On the other side it says, Allah is, there is no God but Allah himself. And they minted a coin with a fucking menorah on it.
What is the purpose of this proof?
This is irrational. This doesn't make any sense. There's no real example of this anywhere else where a colonizing force comes in, takes over and claims let's say a religious site as their own, claims that this religious site is theirs, destined by Allah, but in the same moment acknowledges that this is somebody else's home with this menorah. That's one. And two, the other coin that I have here that I seem to have dropped, you have a coin from the Roman revolt around 2,000 years ago, okay, when the Romans conquered Jerusalem. And this is why I don't need the Bible to make my points. I have tangible proof showing indigeneity and ownership over the land. You have proof
Your
here.
indigeneity is not going to help you create a claim if, according to you, the only reason we got our indigeneity was by conquering the land.
Dov, this is a very subjective argument. This is a very subjective argument. Very subjective argument. It depends on who you're speaking to. In a Muslim circle, you can speak about God.
Doesn't matter who you speak
for
to.
people who don't speak in the language of God, who don't understand the language of God. You can't. Hold on, Dov. Wait a moment. Don't talk over me. Dov. 1 second. Calm down. You're using an argument that works for one side of the equation. I'll admit, I'll be the first one to say when I'm speaking to a religious Muslim, I'll use God in the argument more. I still might not quote the Bible because I personally don't feel comfortable quoting the Bible when I'm talking about this stuff. But when you're talking to somebody who doesn't understand the concept of God, who doesn't understand nativity under God, or the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who doesn't understand that language, you need somebody like me with tangible archaeological proof to be able to say, hey, this coin's 2,000 years ago, okay, what I'm holding in my hand, and it says freedom to Zion in Hebrew. That doesn't make any sense, okay? This is literally Palestinian resistance. This is Jewish resistance, Zionist resistance that you can hold in your hand from 2,000 years ago. The argument of the Torah and the covenant of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, which we both believe in, by the way, I'm not saying that I don't believe in it. I do believe in it. It's not always an argument that you can use. So if you're trying to grill me about using the Torah more often in my conversation, I reject what you say. It's not how I argue. It's not how I'm going to do my thing.
Remember, I started this questioning by just trying to understand what your ultimate position is.
My ultimate position is that we've existed in this land for as long as we've existed in this land. If you want to do a genetic test and go back 1,000,000 years, and you want to say that we're the original Canaanites and that the Neolithic people that lived here also stemmed into Judaism, which you can make those claims. I don't even try to go that far back. We had independent kingdoms here. The people who colonized this land never set up an independent kingdom here. They never tried to claim any sort of indigeneity or nativity over the land until 1967. And we left proof in the ground, and our occupiers and colonizers left proof in the ground, showing indigeneity of Jewish people, showing the truth that Jewish people are the inheritance of this land. And I don't need anything else. I mean, God can help me make the argument, but I'd rather use tangible proof that people can touch and feel. You know, I'll use God with the people who speak in the language of God, but not everybody does.
Just in closing, I just want to close with this.
Sure.
Is that the reason that we will continue to have these debates with all the people of the world like we are doing right now? Just by the way, you know I'm on your side, that this is our land.
I like the conversation, by the way. You fired me up. I love it.
I'm just coming from a different direction.
Totally.
But now I
appreciate you, bro. Don't worry about it.
And this is, unless we get to this point, we will continue to have these fights until Mashiach comes. And this is the point, is that we are not owners of this land because we colonized it first and we have coins in the ground. That's not why we're the owners of the land. Because according to that logic, anybody who comes after us, destroys us, and sticks their stuff in the ground and holds it for longer than us will be the owners of the land. And you don't want to say that. And the only way that we're ever going to close this topic is by saying, yes, we have the proof. Look, it's there in the ground. And it goes all the way back until exactly where the Bible says. And the reason that we're here is because God gave us this tiny little piece of land. And until we can speak that language,
you go argue the God perspective.
Languages,
you go
and we have to.
Dov, you go argue the God perspective with Columbia University students who believe in 16 genders. You go do that for me and see how far that takes you. I reject your premise. I mean, I appreciate that we're on the same side. I love that you're on the same side, and I love you, bro. I've got no problem with you. I see where you're coming from, and I actually have many friends who would agree with the exact perspective you're saying. I reject the way that you do things. I don't think it's the right way to go about it. I don't think it's the wrong way to go about it, because I think there's a place where you could do it, but you need to have duality. You can't live in a fucking binary of just, it's my way or the highway. You know, you got to be a little flexible with how you talk to people. If you're going to try to preach to people about God and the covenant of God with people who don't believe in God, who don't understand God, who don't understand the deep, immense spiritual complexity of what Judaism is, you're never going to get anywhere with those people. And that's why people like you are not able to hold themselves up in these conversations. If you're just going to go God, here's what it says in the Torah. It doesn't go very far with people who don't speak in that language, which, excuse me, a vast majority of planet Earth doesn't speak in that language. Don't understand that perspective.
It doesn't matter what they speak in. For 400 years, from Newton until 65, everybody spoke in the language of a universe that existed infinitely. That matter was popping in and out of existence every few years. And what, you just couldn't speak to them about the fact that there was actually a beginning? What type of logic is that?
It's a logic.
Ultimately,
it's a logic of the way the world works. We live in a different world.
Bringing are additions to the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth, we can't open a box and say, look, here, God said it, because this is not the way God revealed himself in the world. But we can bring the coin out the ground like you just did and show it to another human and say, look, this goes all the way back to exactly when we spoke about it. And when we go dig in the ground.
I can make the reverse argument. I can make the reverse argument that the coins are the main argument and the Torah is supplementary. I'm not saying that I don't agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying there's certain people.
Show me how. Show me how the reverse
because there's certain
argument
people who don't understand that concept. What if somebody tells you your Torah is invalid and I don't believe what you're saying? I don't believe in God and I don't believe in your book. What's your response? Believe in my book?
Well, I'm going to ask them. No, I'm going to ask them. What are the reasons that lead you to not believe in the God?
It doesn't connect. It doesn't connect to me. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it.
You don't get to make. That's not a logical argument.
But you see the fallacy in your argument. But do you understand the fallacy in your argument?
No.
There are millions of people who would respond to you just in that way. They won't even rationalize what they're saying. It doesn't matter whether they believe in God or not. But they don't care about your perspective. They don't care about the Torah. They don't care about God. They don't believe in that. They don't have any connection to it.
This is the same argument that we Jews would have had with the Newtonian thought process in the world when they were saying that the universe was infinitely old. They would just say, "Oh, we just don't agree with you." Ultimately,
I didn't understand.
Once we go through all the investigations and we find all the proof,
I didn't understand that last point you meant. You said
your statement was, look, the people who are going to be arguing with you are just going to say, well, I just don't hold by your position, and therefore you're wrong. That's not a logical or a coherent argument.
Habibi, are we fighting with logical people here? Habibi, listen to what you're saying. What do you mean logic?
Remember,
are you fucking listening? Have you listened to any of my live streams in the last year? You think we're arguing with logical people? I'm arguing with people. I'm arguing with a group of people who their descendants put a menorah on a coin in Arabic 1,500 years ago, and will still claim to me that it's their land eternally. Are you fucking with me?
Rebtel, I'm not arguing with them actually. My original position was just trying to understand where your position is coming from, and again, I don't want to take all your time of your stream. I'm so happy to be engaging with you. It's so nice, and like I said, it's amazing. I love your content. You're amazing.
I love you as well, man. I appreciate you.
Ultimately, I think that if every discussion, even with those stupid Colombians that think that there's 16 genders, if that person we would start the conversation with these people by saying you're wrong, and I can logic it out with you. Instead of saying, look, here's a coin, but they can say, yeah, but we conquered you afterwards and we have other coins. That's a much better position to do the argument.
But they don't. You can't just say, hey, we have other coins. They don't. There isn't any. You know what I'm saying? The archaeological proof leads in one direction. It doesn't lead in any other direction.
My statement is
there's
that
an argument that you
Paul
could go from
his
point
position.
A to point B to point C without needing to use the Torah. Without needing to use the Torah. And I appreciate your perspective of wanting to use the Torah.
If you do that,
yeah.
If you do that, if you do go from A to B to C without using the Torah, then you land up with the problem that I've just been describing to you.
You don't.
That being, I'm showing you how. That being that, according to your position currently, Tal, is that the reason that this is our land is because when Yeshua came in, we conquered the land. And our conquering of the land and never having left the land, there was always our people on the land, and we have coins, and we have archaeology, and we have. And because we conquered it prior, that's why it's our land. But if conquering is what made
the refutation to the point that you're bringing up is that somebody from the Canaanite period or from the Philistine period, maybe the Phoenician period, would say, I have a genuine claim to this land. And they would have to defend that point. It doesn't exist. Nobody's making that claim.
But according to this line of reasoning, anybody who goes and conquers the land now owns the land.
That's how history works, yes.
But it's not so. It's true for every piece of land in the world.
It's precisely how history works, brother.
It's true for every piece of the land except for Eretz Yisrael.
That's where you're wrong. And that's where you're using God for the argument. It's not going to work for you. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm successful at doing what I do. It's because I don't use your argument. Listen to what I'm saying. You need to listen. I'm going to be uploading some of my lectures soon. And you'll hear how I engage with people. You'll see. You can learn. I think you can learn a lot from me. I don't think we really see that far away from each other. I think we disagree on this one thing. But I appreciate your perspective. And obviously, again, I believe in the Torah and I believe in the promise of the covenant. I probably have a little more of a reformed look at the thing that maybe not all Jews will appreciate, but we'll save that for a different point in my career when I'm ready to burn all my ties with everybody and to get everybody to hate me. But Dov, I appreciate you very much, bro.
Ultimately, you're saying, look, you do hold by the Abrahamic faith, and that's the reason why we have it, but you're using arguments for the Colombian students on their level. That's what you're telling me.
One more time? I didn't totally understand what you said.
Ultimately, deep down inside your goof, inside your body, inside your mind, you do hold by the fact that Eretz Yisrael is the Jews because it was given to us, but you're using the arguments that you're presenting to me right now so that you can communicate with the stupid lefty liberals.
I'm taking you off the stage. I'm going to take you off the stage because I don't want to continue the conversation, but I'm going to answer those 2 points. To say that I believe that the Jews' land is from the covenant of God, I don't think would be a representation of what I feel in my heart or with my connection with Hashem. That's not where my doctrine comes from. And it's too deep, personal, and spiritual for me to be able to convey properly over this call and with the limited time we have left. Again, it's truly something that I want to talk about more in the future. It's not something I feel comfortable talking about yet because I still feel I'm on my own journey. Okay? It's 1, 2. I don't think those students in Colombia are as stupid as we make them out to be. I know I make fun of them all the time, but something that we tend to forget is that a lot of these college students in the West and these idiots who wear the kafia and all the whatever, the rainbow hair and the whole lot, they are well-intentioned people with really the best of intentions who are lost. They're very, 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 very lost. And I think that I'm not dumbing down my argument to the coins because that's the only language they understand. It is because I have done my own research to get to the point of how can I defend this in a way that I'm comfortable. You may be comfortable arguing this point with the Torah. You know, there's rabbis who are comfortable arguing that point with the Torah. More power to them. I did my own research. I spoke to my own sources. I try to understand my own reasoning for this argument. And I found a chronological set of answers that are archaeological in the land, some that are tangible that you can touch, feel, and hold, that I believe to be true, okay, that have archaeological, scientific, and historical backing to them. And I don't need anything else than what I can hold in the timeline that I build out for myself with my family history and with these coins and with everything else to prove rational existence of Israel, the state of Israel, and Jewish people in the land all the way from history to now. I don't need anything else. And that's kind of where I rest my case. It's a conversation we can continue in the future, Dov, and I appreciate you so much for calling, brother. Only love. I know we can argue, but it's a beautiful thing about Jewish people is we can have this argument and continue on and be pals and friends in the future. So I appreciate you calling in, brother. Only love from my end. I know it's only love from yours as well. So thanks so much for calling in. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for calling in to the call-in show. We maintained like 350 plus viewers through the whole show. That was awesome. That was a really fun show. And again, I really think a testament to the work that I do on here. Just you could see the amount of Arabs who called in and Muslims who may have called in during the show or were listening in. And it's just a really, it's an honor to do this work. It's an honor to be here with you guys. And I love and appreciate you all so much. I implore you to consider supporting the channel via Patreon so I can keep this work going. I implore you to buy me a coffee, PayPal donation, whatever you want to keep my work going so I can keep doing this and hopefully bringing this to more places around the world in person. And I will see you guys in the next one. For anybody who's a part of the Patreon, we have the after show right now. You get an hour and a half with me now to just enjoy and talk. And we'll see you guys in the next one. I love you long time. Goodbye, class. If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, buy me a coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat, or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.